Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make binding and how to attach it to your quilt. So I have 3 quilts to bind this week, so I thought why not share my tutorial on how I like to do my binding. There are lots of different methods of doing it, lots of different widths you can do your cut your binding at, and then lots of different ways to attach it to your quilt. So I'm going to show you what works best for me and what I like the look of the best, and I hope you enjoy. So to get started, you need your fabric that you're going to be using for your binding. So to figure out how much binding you'll need, it's a simple equation. You take all 4 sides of the quilt top or the quilt, you add those together, you add 10 extra inches just for some of that wiggle room, and then you divide by the width of your fabric. So most cases you'll be dividing by 42, but if you're using fat quarters or scraps, just divide accordingly. So for instance, my quilt is 60 by 55, so I do 60 plus 60 plus 55 plus 55 plus 10 for that extra little bit. And then dividing by 42, that usually gives you not a whole number, so whatever it is, just round up so that you make sure you have enough, and you always want extra, which is good. So first I'm going to cut my strips. Now lots of people have different opinions on how wide your strips should be, so just play around and figure out what works best for you. I personally like them to be 2.5 inches wide. I like the extra width, and it's not too fussy for me when I'm putting it on my quilt. So first thing you're going to do is cut those strips. So like I said, I'm going to do 2.5 inches wide. And then you cut off the selvage. And then we're going to sew them together, and I will take you to my sewing machine and show you how I do that. All right, so here we are at my machine. I've got my strips, and what you're going to do is you're going to put them right sides together. And then you're just going to sew your normal 1/4 inch seam straight across. You can back stitch if you'd like. And there, that's all you have to do. So go ahead and attach all of your binding strips in one continuous strip, and I will meet you at my ironing board. All right, we're here at my ironing mat. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that seam, and I like to press it open. Go ahead and do that for all of your seams, and then once you've done that, you're going to find the start, and then with the right side facing down, you're going to go ahead and fold it in half, and then you're going to iron it folded like this all the way down. All right, once you're done ironing, you have your binding, and you are ready to attach it to your quilt. So let me take you back to my sewing machine, and we will do that. All right, now we are ready to sew our binding onto our quilt. So I like to start my binding on the back side of the quilt. This is totally personal preference, but when you sew the other side on, you will see a line, a stitch line. So I like to have that stitch line on the back so that nothing is on the front. I'll show you what I mean when we get to that part, but it's totally personal preference. So just play around and figure out what you like better. Here is my binding. When you start it, you want to start with about 8 to 10 inches extra. So go ahead and start it about there. You also want to give yourself enough room, so I like to start usually in the middle of a side of an edge. So you're going to go ahead, you definitely want to front and back stitch a few times, and then you are just going to sew your normal 1/4 inch all the way along, making sure that both these edges stay lined up the whole time. And I will show you what we do once we get to the corner. All right, here we are at the corner. So I like to leave a pretty good amount of room for myself. So I usually do about 1/2 inch to 1 inch before I get to this next edge. So go ahead and stitch to there, and then back stitch and cut it. So I'll show you that up close. You can see that I still have a pretty decent amount of room. So now what you're gonna do, you're gonna lay it down, you're gonna fold it so that this now goes up, if you can see that, and then you're gonna fold it back down, making sure that you have a nice even line with this edge. You don't want this to be tilted or slanted in any way. Make sure you get a nice clean edge. So then once you have that, you're going to turn your quilt and you're going to start it 1/4 inch away from your corner. I like to back stitch. And then you just continue on down your quilt. So I'll show you again on the next corner just so we can really dial it in. All right, here we are again. So I'm going to stop it about 1/2 inch to 1 inch away. Then I'm going to show you up close. So you're going to fold it up, making a nice fold. Then you're going to fold it back down, making sure that all your sides are nice and even with each other. And then you're just going to start stitching up here front and back and continue on. Once I finish this section, I'll meet you back to show you how to join your ends. All right, I just turned my last corner. I'm going to take a few stitches more, back stitch, cut your threads, and I'm leaving a pretty big gap. As you can see, that's probably about 20 inches in between my two ends, because now we are going to join them together and you want plenty of space to be able to do that. So let me show you how that's done. All right, so now we are ready to join these together. So we have our two ends. What you'll need are some pins and a pen. So you're gonna make sure that your quilt is flat, and then I like to do that so you can make sure this is nice and tight, but not too tight where you're pulling or stretching the fabric. And then you do the same for this side. And where they meet up, you can have them meet up wherever you prefer, but just make sure that both are nice and tight along your quilt. So what you're going to do is put your fingers at the base of where they meet up, Then you're going to fold this over. Where you can feel that other one, you're going to put a line with your pen. You're going to do the same for this side. So as you can see, I put a pen mark there and a pen mark there. All right. Now what you're going to do is this top one, you're going to open up. You're going to grab this bottom one, give yourself some slack with the quilt. You're going to line up this drawn line with the fold of where you ironed your binding, and then this edge along that drawn line. So it's a nice 90-degree. Once you have that, go ahead and open it up, making sure to not shift it or move it, and lay it down like that. Then you're going to pin it, pin the two together, and now we're going to take it back to our sewing machine, and we're just going to sew diagonally from this corner meetup to this corner meetup along this line, and then you can cut the excess off a 1/4 inch away. So I'll show you what that looks like when at my sewing machine. All right, we're back at the machine, and like I said, I'm just going to stitch right along that diagonal from corner to corner. There we go. You can take your pins out. And now I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm just going to cut about a 1/4 inch away from that stitch line. All right, now just fold it under itself. Don't worry about those marked lines because they get folded under and you won't see them at all. You can cut off these dog ears if you want, but I don't do it because you don't ever see them. All right, so go ahead and go back to where you left off originally. We're going to start there again. Front and back stitch. And now continue down just a 1/4 inch away from the edge like you have been. Now we're where we started, so go ahead and just backstitch and trim. And then you have a perfect matchup and a seamless finish. So now what we are going to do is we're going to turn the quilt over, and now we can start on the front. It doesn't matter where you start, but you just pull the binding out from the back side, and then you fold it on top. Go ahead and start stitching. You back stitch. So I like to be as close to this edge as possible, but it's totally personal preference how much of a lip you want. I like to sew it, like I said, as close as possible. So you're just gonna go all the way down your quilt, being mindful to not go off the edge or anything. Some people like to go through and fold their binding over and clip it down with binding clips, but I don't do that. I just like to fold it with my fingers as I go. So continue all the way down, and I will show you how you're going to do your corner. All right, we are almost at our corner, so I like to unfold it. Just continue down. All right, now I'm going to reposition you so you guys can see. All right, that's better. So now that we've come to the end, you're going to want to fold everything, make sure it's laying flat, and then fold this corner up. You want to get this edge lined up with this edge, so you might need to do it a few times to get that nice crisp corner. All right, I'm happy with that. Now I take one stitch onto the new side, I back stitch to really tack it down, bring it forward and then turn it. And then continue on. Let me go forward a little bit so then I can show you what that corner looks like. So you can see we got a really nice 90-degree clean corner. So we're almost done. I can see the end. So just continue on. And then when you get to the starting point, just continue stitching, hi baby, and back stitch, and you can trim it. So let me show you what I was talking about, the line on the back of the quilt. So you can see that, I need to trim some threads, but you can see that line right there. So if you don't want this line, then you need to do a thinner binding strip. So I did 2.5 inches, you might try 2.25 or even 2. And that'll go away. But I don't really mind the line, especially since it's on the back of the quilt. I don't ever notice it. So anyway, that's how we did it. And now you've got a beautifully bound quilt. Let me show you the whole thing. And that's it. You have a beautifully bound quilt all ready to be snuggled with and loved on. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment in the comment section or send me a DM on Instagram and I'd be happy to help. Thanks guys.